Welcome to the ZimmCast, a program dedicated to bringing you what's new in agricultural marketing. The ZimmCast is the official podcast of AgWired and hosted by Chuck and Cindy Zimmerman.
Hello and welcome to the ZimmCast. I'm Cindy Zimmerman. Chuck is still trying to get back from Ag Media Summit in Rogers, Arkansas, after one of those great nightmare situations where you're stuck on the tarmac for 2 hours and miss the last flight out of Atlanta, have to spend the night in a hotel with no luggage and no compensation because it was weather. And oh yeah, he has 2 of our grandchildren with him because they only live 2 hours away from Arkansas, and that seemed like a great idea, didn't it? Well, they couldn't get on a flight until 12:40 p.m., and that has now been delayed. And that, my friends, sums up why, after at least 900 trips for one or both of us over the past 20 years, we are hanging up our suitcases and staying home with the dogs after this year. But I did get to go to one last precision technology conference in Des Moines. The 5th annual Tech Hub Live Conference and Expo was held July 21st through the 23rd. I had been to all 5 of them, and it featured more than a dozen major sponsors, nearly 70 exhibitors, 5 general sessions, 9 breakout sessions, 21 tech talks, and 15 fireside chats, in addition to the Women in Ag Tech pre-event conference. There were also 5 Crop Life Ag Tech Awards of Excellence presented this year. A new one added, the Emerging Leader Award, and it was presented to Aman Anand, Senior Leader with Nutrien Ag Solutions.
I manage retail partnership. So anytime we have external innovation which we wanted to bring to Nutrien Ag Solution, I work on those real problem and bring innovation in-house.
Well, today you were presented with a brand new award, a brand new Ag Tech Award, an Emerging Leader Award. Tell me a little bit about how you felt about receiving that award.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be recognized, and I work in ag retail space for the last 18 years. I've interacted with more than 500 ag tech companies. So I believe, all our work through our team at Nutrien Ag Solution, and Nutrien is a very innovative company. We bring a lot of new startups in our fold where they solve a lot of our major pain points. So I definitely feel really good about it, also because we have that power. Nutrien Ag Solution has that power to scale up those innovation and amplify their narrative so that they can solve farmers' problem and help them make more money and help them provide more return on investment and having a clear ROI story.
Well, you were just on a panel also here for Tech Hub Live talking about AI and what the future is for that. And you seem to be pretty positive about the future. Tell me just a little bit about your message and your thoughts on the future of AI in ag tech.
Future of AI is very bright. My point is, and my thinking is, you have to adopt it. There's no other ways. Either you adopt it, or you might get left behind. And we have to understand that AI. I'm very optimistic about AI. The reason is, anytime you have new technology, people are skeptical. That's our human behavior. We always start with negative, and that's somehow our defensive mechanism. That's a human behavior, human psychology. But if you look deeper down into it, I believe it will give you a lot of avenues to save your time, streamline your life, and I would definitely recommend people to embrace it. And sooner they embrace it, they will see really positive outcome of that. And if you talk about agriculture, I always say that agriculture is highly complex modern biological system. So when you have a very highly complex system, you need all those tools from machine learning to generative AI to simplify your life, because now you're getting data from all across the place, multiple platforms, from your soil sensor to weather station to remote sensing, right? So when you have so much complex data set, you need something to simplify that. Otherwise, all those investment that you have to make those nice and fancy tool you cannot create insights from that. So to create insight, it's very important to have a tool that can analyze, as I said, 3A approach, acquisition of data, analysis of those data, and finally creating actionable insight, which is your action part. So I would say definitely AI and the machine learning has that strength to analyze a really complex data set, and it will change our life. It will change farmers' life, and ultimately it will bring transparency to system. Now everything is transparent. When people are sharing data on any LLM model or their institutional knowledge, in general, a lot of people will get benefited from that. So don't be skeptical, be positive, and things will change.
Well, what do you think about this conference? What do you think about Tech Up Live?
Tech Up Live, I'm also advisory board member. The reason I joined the advisory board because when I see other conference which has nothing to do with ag, and it create a lot of buzz, so it was my first thought that we need a real ag retail focused conference. There, where senior leader, it should be applicable to for everyone. Like a senior leader can join this meeting, they can learn something. An early career agronomist can join this meeting, they can learn something. So there, our goal through this conference is everyone in that ag value chain will get benefited from that. And somehow I'm noticing that we are somehow fulfilling that goal. And attendance was really good this year, whereas other conference I have noticed attendance fall down 40%, 40 to 50%. Here's numbers are encouraging. People are recognizing that this conference is something they should engage on. And definitely I'm very optimistic about this conference too. And it is creating a lot of value. Especially at a time which is very difficult when we are talking about AI to ag tech, where we lost billions of dollars. In the last 12 years, we lost like $15 billion in terms of valuation, and things are happening. So it is very important to have a conference where, we all can join together, we can talk, because I always say that innovation is not a solo act. We all have to work together to fix the problem, make our farming operation profitable, and make our farmers, our grower life beautiful.
The Visionary Farmer Award this year went to fourth-generation Iowa farmer April Hemis, who has operated her family's 1,000-acre Century Farm for nearly 40 years, and yet still finds time to do combine karaoke in the fall for her Facebook fans.
With combine karaoke, I was doing a podcast and I said, I don't know, I made a flippant remark about, well, maybe I'll do combine karaoke. And a friend of mine said, we're doing it. So, that's how that started. But I do get to do a lot of interviews and things like that because honestly, being a woman in production agriculture and an owner-operator, I have a unique view on a lot of things. So I enjoy sharing that, so.
You obviously have a great sense of humor, but how many years have you been doing it then?
Yes, this is my 40th year farming. So I came back to the farm in 1985, so I've seen a lot of things come and go, but it has been a fun ride.
And when we were asked about what you've seen the most change in it, your automatic answer was technology.
Yes, 100%, because the way we have, and I'm not talking just seed technology, but the technology I have in my combine, the data I can accumulate and get to help me make those decisions, to make better decisions on every acre. And it's amazing because before we just kind of guessed and, oh yes, look, the hopper's full, yay. Well, is it 30% corn or 20% corn? That kind of makes a difference, Dad. So the ability to gather that information and use it on every acre has really helped move ag forward.
Do you think that the perception of women in agriculture has changed in the last 40 years?
Yeah. When I first came home, it was, oh, isn't it nice you're helping your dad and grandpa? Yeah. And then after a while, especially the people you work with, they would call me rather than them because they knew, I might not be the big money, but I was the decision maker. They knew I could talk to them about it and understood it. So it has evolved. Are we there yet? No. You know, I've always said I would love to get to a place where I said, "Hi, I'm April Hummus. I'm a farmer," and they don't automatically say, "Oh, what do you and your husband farm?" It's because he doesn't farm with me. So, you know, sometime I would like to get to that place. We're not quite there yet, but, you know.
Well, I mean, as far as like social media is a technology that's evolved in the last 20 years. Do you think that has helped farming?
I think it helps show people what we do and how we do it. Do they still have a grasp? No, because I think a lot of times they think we make so much money, we can have all this equipment. No, I mean, when I have conversations with people and I said, yes, you know, this might cost me $500,000, but I have to pay for it in 5 years. And they look at me and with unbelievable, you know, and I said, yeah, I'm paying for a house in 5 years. And they go, wow. So that puts that into perspective. You know, I said, we're money managers. That's what we do. So it's, you know, and the farther away people get from the farm, the less they understand. You know, so it's our job to really get out there and ahead of it and explain and do the best we can at sharing our lives with people.
And then people don't realize the cost when you talk about a $500,000 piece of equipment. But when you were asked what was the most expensive thing about farming, your answer was?
My answer was land. And people don't think of that. So even people in agriculture think it's, you know, chemicals or seed or other inputs. No, it's land, period, end of story. Ask any, and even if, like, I'm buying some land and I rent some land from my family, we own all of the land that I farm, but it is definitely land. And we have that conversation with, especially with younger people who say, I'm never going to be able to afford a piece of ground. And I go, you're right. You're not. You know, and what it does is holds back people getting into it that just want to get into farming that aren't related or marry into it. You know, you really have to have that in. And that's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that would be really good farmers but just don't have the means to get into it.
You talked a lot about being involved with the soybean associations and, you know, being a soybean export council, all of that, being able to travel and that kind of thing. How important is that as a farmer? Because, I mean, you don't have a lot of time.
Right.
And why did you want to be able to be involved in associations?
What's amazing to me, well, especially about traveling, is, you know, we have a commodity, whether it's corn, soybeans, you know, hogs, cattle, and we need to be out there and representing it. And when I go around, and I've been very fortunate to travel and say, especially talk about this is how I raise my crop, this is what I do, the one reaction from a huge buyer in China was, we already know that the American farmer is the best in the world. You know, they just want it cheaper. And I go, well, sorry? Yeah, I don't have control over that. That's right. And they always like it when I sometimes show a video of me out in my combine and combining soybeans, and it could be corn, but I said the reason I'm showing you this is look at the lack of weeds. You know, we are out here, we're combining the best. This is raised no-till. I'm not disturbing the soil. So telling our story, how we do it, because consumers around the world are really starting to care about that. You know, sustainability, how we do things. And so having a farmer out there talking about it. And I tell you what, I go to conferences when I did. That's the favorite part everybody has is the farmer telling their story because it's straight from the heart. It's what we do.
Tech Up Live is fortunate to have many supporting industry sponsors who make it happen. One premier sponsor is Ag World, represented by Scott Cogdill.
Ag World is an FMIS platform that primarily is in North America and Australia. Worked across multiple verticals. Whether it be grower, vertically integrated growers, food companies, retailers, crop consultants. Just kind of a lot all over the market. But no, like really, what we're here right now is just making sure that we're getting connected with the retail market and just kind of getting Ag World a little bit reintroduced back to ag retail after I would say it was probably been quiet the last couple of years. And so kind of getting back out to the market in a little full force and getting Ag World reintroduced back to the retail market.
Well, you've taken a major role here as a sponsor at Tech Hub Live, the 5th annual Tech Hub Live. What are some of the things that you're supporting, in particular, your company here at Tech Hub Live?
Yeah, so, when we were looking for this, my former company, it was always kind of a big deal of being a sponsor at this and just making sure that we can kind of help be a part of it, help, make sure that the industry has a voice in what these events really are looking for. But, for me, it's, as always, I've probably said the same thing every year we've talked. It's more about just networking. It's about touching base with the industry, whether it be, customers, our competitors, partners, whatever. It's a very close group. It's a very tight group. And so, for me, it's just really about getting here and just, getting back in front of the industry, talking with the industry, and just making sure that we're able to network.
It seems like every year we're having more challenges. Every year is different, but it's the same. You got a lot of the same people, but a lot of the companies change from year to year.
Yep.
So what would you say right now are the top of mind concerns for the ag tech industry?
I mean, my personal view, realistically, is stability. Full disclosure, I'm at AgWorld now because my former company was sold and essentially shut down, and and that's left ripples, and it's been a lot of what I would say shifting and movement within the industry, and it's been good, it's been bad, but at the end of the day, it creates uncertainty. I would say it's maybe made a segment of the industry to want to take take control of their own destiny a little bit more, which is something that I thought would maybe not necessarily come back, but I think it has. So, for me right now, it's just about understanding, like, how do we create a scenario where there's a message of stability, that we truly are here for agriculture, that we're not just a number on a spreadsheet that can be sold off or shut down or whatever at any time, and just making sure that the industry is truly building again towards what the market needs. Now that we're kind of past the big wave of the VC boom and the VC era of the 2010s and all this, crazy valuations and all that were happening. And so I think we're kind of realistically settling into a new era of commercial viability, being commercially viable, really focusing on what you're trying to do versus maybe trying to say someone's going to build the next $1 billion ag tech company, which realistically there probably will never be one. So I think that's really more about where I'm viewing it, is like finding the fit, understanding the needs of the market, and making a commercially viable company.
Is there any new technology that you're particularly excited about right now?
Oh, man. I hate to sound like a buzzword, but it is one. I think there's a lot of really great things that can be done with things like generative AI, whether it be from an integration standpoint or just even helping with like report creation or standardization of data. There's a lot of things that realistically generative AI or some of the other tools out there can do some of the early base lifting to help us speed the process. I'm not one of those ones that will ever believe that AI solves everything, because it doesn't, but it helps us actually speed up certain processes. And for me, it's more about, how do we leverage some of those things, or how do we make it fit in certain workflows to make sure that the information is more readily available or more easily integrated, or whatever that may end up being, knowing to leverage the tools that exist. So, and what I hope is, and it's built in a way that you don't even realize it's there. You don't realize what you're dealing with. Just the workflows are so good that not really understanding that that's how we got to that process.
Why do you think it's important for people who are passionate about the ag tech industry to attend Tech Hub Live?
Honestly, I think there's a couple things of just, it's a good gauging what's going on in the industry. I mean, for me, I'll fully admit I love just catching up with people, checking in, hearing what the latest talk is, kind of understanding where the thing is. But I also do think it's important because it is an opportunity for all of us to really be in a spot with a lot of retailers, a lot of other parts of the market, and truly hear directly what they're looking for, what they're wanting to be addressed, what truly are the pain points. as well as start to kind of spend a little more time with other companies. Like I always call our competitors, realistically, we're all frenemies because we're all working within the same industry, and sometimes we partner with a certain area of a competitor, and other times we don't. And so I think it's just always a great opportunity for the industry as a whole to just level set, touch base, understand what's going on in the marketplace, and honestly just see each other in person and make sure we keep these connections going, because that's what's better for the industry.
Well, you may be frenemies one day and coworkers the next day, right?
Absolutely, and as we've all seen how that works.
Well, you have been here all 5 years, right?
Yes. Yep.
For Tech Hub Live.
Yep.
What do you think about the evolution of the event?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to be on the board the first couple of years, and and I think one thing that I always say is when year one, Ernie Chappell and I used to talk all the time about making sure that everything is commercially viable, right? That it's speakers, sponsors, whatever that may end up being, because I think in the past, like I said, of the 2010s, when you look at the VC and startup era that was just overtook ag tech, I think a lot of the conferences turned into just startup buzzword bingo. So that's where we really wanted to make sure that those early days back in 21, that it was a conference built around commercially viable things that actually are addressing the market, are going to be here for the long run. And I think as a whole, the conference has stayed true to that. And like I said, I think the industry has also shifted enough where we're no longer dealing with, these big, outlandish valued startups that realistically don't have staying power. So I think it's done a really good job keeping it to where it's commercially viable, understanding about, we want this to be about who, what the market needs, bringing people together, and then obviously being an Iowa local. I mean, I just love it's in Des Moines. I don't have to travel very far. So it's great. It's great for me, but it is one of the things I look forward to most every year, just because it is one of the best opportunities to truly get together as an industry and just touch base again.
Another major sponsor this year for both Tech Hub Live and Women in Ag Tech was Agra Access, and Kelly Miller is Director of Ag Tech and Retail. Tell us about Agra Access.
Yes, Agra Access is a division of Compeer Financial, and we really specialize in partner lending. And what that means is we partner with banks, ag retail, fintech, to offer financing to farmers and banks to offer a dependable source of capital.
And this is relatively new to Compeer?
Yes. Agra Access is actually the original part of Agra Access is 25 years old. We just celebrated that. But the ag tech and retail and fintech part of it is 5 years old. So that part is relatively new, but the whole part of Agra Access itself is a little over 25 years old.
Surprisingly, as old as Tech Hub Live, which we're here at. So, and Agra Access is a very major sponsor here this year, not only of Tech Hub Live, but also of Women in Ag Tech. Why? Tell me a little bit about your presence here and why it was important for you to have such visibility here.
I would say twofold. One, Women in Ag Tech is really important to Agra Access because women more and more are part of agriculture, not only for careers, but also on the farm. We're both places, and we want to make sure that we have a really good presence of that. We value their opinions. We value, really everything that they bring for that. So Women in Ag is really important to us, as well as Tech Hub Live. We have a lot of our partners here, and we want to make sure that we can show up and show up for them and be able to sponsor, this great event with them.
It makes it better. Sponsors make it better. Mm-hmm. Well, you led a panel at Women in Ag Tech that involved both crop insurance and farm credit, and how Ag Tech has an impact on that. Give me some of the insights that came out of that panel.
Yes. So yes, we had Farmers Mutual Hail, and we had Compeer Financial, an economist by the name of Megan, and we had Dawn as well from Farmers Mutual Hail. And really we asked about what role do they play in the digital adoption of that? And because there are two main parts of agriculture. Almost everybody needs insurance, and almost everybody needs finances. And so how do they make sure that the clients are part of digital? And really they play a key role in making sure that they're offered the digital offering, right? We know that they can show up in person, but they know that they have a digital offer. And so they know that they play a key role in offering to the client that they have other options than just in-person offers.
All right. Well, and as far as Tech Hub Live is concerned, you also did a presentation here. Tell me a bit about that. What you were getting, what your main message was there.
It was about innovation, which, one, personally, I love talking about innovation because it's really one of my passions alongside of agriculture. And being innovative in ag is really important. And so I talked a little bit about the 3 keys of innovation in any organization, or that we really kind of believe in at AgriAccess. The first is you have to make sure that you're in a position to be able to invest. You have to earn the right to be able to innovate. Because if you're not in a good financial position where you're a profitable organization, you really can't even begin to innovate. So if you're not a strong, profitable company, it's really hard to be able to innovate. Because if you're just scraping together to be able to make payroll, it's hard to innovate. Take those big bets, small bets. So that's one. The second one is really making sure that your strategy aligns with where you're innovating. So if you have to be really, really clear on where your strategy is, so you can make sure that where you're spending your time, your money, your resources on innovating aligns with your strategy. You're going to have better outcomes. You're going to be more successful in innovating because you're going to continue to fail and you're going to continue to iterate and you're going to continue to move forward in the right direction, even if they don't all win. And then finally, the creativity, which is a part that I love, is really having fun with innovation, right? Because the other two, those are foundational, but also making sure that you're having fun with innovation because it should be a part of your DNA is to have fun as an organization. So the top 3 are making sure that you are in a good space from a profitability standpoint to be able to innovate. The second one, make sure it aligns with your strategy. And number 3, have fun, be creative with your innovating within your organization.
You have been involved in Tech Hub Live since the beginning? No, but the last couple of years. Yes. But what is it that is so special about this event?
I think it's the new life that comes every year. And what I mean by that is there's some companies that now have been here probably 5 years. And there's some companies that are brand new. And what I love about it each year that I see is more and more companies are partnering together, especially the last couple of sessions that I was in. The panels, it's like they work together. I bet if when they started a few years ago, they would have never dreamed to be working together. And so I think it's the magic that happens when you come into a room and you kind of put your egos aside and realize that, wait a minute, we could make this better if you put the farmer in the middle and the producer in the middle and just make this better for agriculture and put our minds together. And so I think that's what I love about Tech Hub Live in general, and maybe just even about the agricultural community as a whole. So I think that's what makes it so special.
Lots more from Tech Hub Live can be found in the virtual newsroom on agnewswire.com. Well, assuming Chuck makes it back from Ag Media Summit someday, we only have a few more events left this year. I will be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, August 20th through the 22nd, with my friends at the American Coalition for Ethanol for their annual meeting. And Chuck will go to his last Farm Progress show next month. And finally, he will head to Clearwater, Florida for the Ag Gateway annual meeting in November. And as far as retirement goes, we are retiring from the road. With that, we'll be spending more time on our news release distribution service, podcasting, and a few other projects. And we're talking with some of our former freelancers about maybe taking over for us at some events, maybe next year. We'll have more on that later. And we'll probably still do the ZimmCast, at least every now and then. And that is the ZimmCast for this time. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the ZimmCast, the official podcast of AgWired. Check us out at www.agwired.com to find out what's new in agricultural marketing.